it was the perfect storm. You had the French team talking smack. You had Phelps going for 8. I was the first Black person to be sitting here getting a world record. You know, you had Dara, who was 41. You had Lochte, the pretty boy, going against Phelps. Like all the stories just kind of collided all at once.
Yeah.
And it just kind of made this like perfect storm of a platform. And I use mine to try to get kids to learn to swim.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, so we have with us Mr. Cullen Jones. He's does many things. He's a representative with Speedo. He is a 2008 Olympic gold medalist on the world record winning. And what was the relay? Which relay was this?
4x100 relay, and then 2012, blessed enough to go back and then bring home another gold and 2 silvers.
Awesome. And Cullen is now a Charlotte native, but he has a life mission of making sure that more Americans know how to swim, specifically in the Black community. Those are staggering numbers that you provided with us, that the amount of people who don't know how to swim, the income gap that is associated with that, and the historical context in which we have the situation where we are today. At the end of the day, Cullen's making sure that from a safety standpoint, people are further empowered with the skill to save their lives in the water and there beyond. So Cullen, we're excited. Well, tell me about, I want to get your Olympic story, pre and Olympic story. And how's that unique? Because you're a Black man in the pool and there's not many of us in that water.
Yeah, so I had humble beginnings when I was about 5 years old. I ended up going down a ride and flipping upside down. I was at an amusement park, Dorney Park in Pennsylvania, fully supervised. I think that's the most important piece, because I think a lot of people, and especially parents, think that, oh, you almost drowned, you must have been horse playing. No, I was going down a ride just because I had not had swim lessons and didn't know what to do in that situation. I was able to go underwater. My mom was like, never again, we're going to get you swim lessons. And it was a tough road, but I would say it set me on the path. Wow. And so I actually grew up on a very diverse team. Being from New York, New Jersey area, you get every culture there. Mm-hmm. So my first team, New York swim team, was Black, brown. It was everybody. We had everybody on our team. It wasn't until I started swimming other teams that I started realizing, wait a minute, there aren't a lot of people that look like us. Mm-hmm. And then when we went to big meets, and although all these big teams were there, it was like, oh, so we are different. And we still didn't allow that to get to us, just because we were our own family, our own, nucleus. We were always together as a team. But as I started to get better, and as my family and the team started to separate, I had to find myself in a different situation. And when I was 15, that's when I was it was the first time that I was the only Black person, the only brother on a team. And I was like, oh, this is different. And I was swimming for the Jewish Community Center. Mm-hmm. So I was for sure the only Black person in the building, let alone being in the pool. But I'll tell you, the 2 years that I was there, that team just brought me in. Like, I didn't feel racism. I didn't feel, especially on my team at least. Now, I did start feeling it when I started getting better. That's when it was like not okay, because I don't know my place. When you were in 6th and 7th place, that's okay. When you start winning, it's like, huh. And I actually had a mom come up to my parents at the time. I was about 15. And my dad had just told me he was diagnosed with lung cancer. And at that point, he was at every meet. Just because at that point, time was a little different for him. Like, it was, every moment was valuable.
Yeah.
And I remember that woman came up and was like, shouldn't you be playing basketball? And yeah, I know Chewy's met my mom. But she whipped him around, boy. My dad had to be like, come here. And so he taught me a very valuable lesson at that moment. He was like,
Mhm.
"Do you know why she said that?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, not really." I mean, I kind of got it, but it was more than I could articulate at that moment. It was the feeling I was feeling. Like my
Mhm.
blood was boiling. Like I didn't, but at the same time felt helpless. Like I
Mhm.
like you said that to me, but at the same time, like I don't know what to say back that's not going to also put me in the light that you're trying to paint me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and I know we feel that a lot. And I
Mhm.
know as you spoke about what you were going through, that's a lot of the time what you feel. Sorry, my kid's like,
Oh,
can
you're
I have
good.
this bar? Yes, please eat it. Please eat it.
If that
Um,
sustains you, yes.
yes, yes, please go eat it. Um, so it was like I didn't know what to feel at that time, but my dad said to me, you know, you have to make sure that no one stops you, no matter what.
Yes.
And so, and 4 months later, he was gone.
Wow.
And his last words was, "He did it. He did it." And it was because I got my A time in high
Mhm.
school. I got my time, and he was such a big advocate for me to be, you know, whatever I wanted to be. You know, he was a basketball player, wanted me, of course, to be a basketball player.
Mhm.
Um, he supported me in what I did, and so um, when he said that to me, it just stuck with me. So when I went to college, and I dealt with it in college,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I dealt with it more in social media as a pro. In 2008, you know, going to Beijing, I never would have thought that it would have gone the way it went because I was upset because I didn't get to swim the 50 free. That was my event.
Mhm.
Short, sweet, in, out, done. No.
Yeah.
Now I gotta swim 100, I gotta turn around. Nah, I leave
Yeah.
that to Phelps and Lochte and all those guys. I don't
Yeah.
like that. I like this
That's
to this day. Never been touched. Um, it was next level. And so it has been that Olympic story is cemented obviously in my mind, but what I didn't realize was it was cemented in America's mind.
Mhm.
Like they put that race up with our hockey team, our 80s hockey team, you
Wow.
know, and it's like, whoa, like it was a miracle moment. It was a moment where it was the perfect storm. You had the French team talking smack. You had Phelps going for 8. I was the first black person to be sitting here getting a world record. You know, you had
Mhm.
Dara who was 41. You had Lochte, the pretty boy, going against Phelps. Like
Mhm.
all the stories just kind of collided all at once.
Yeah.
And it just kind of made this like perfect storm of a platform. And I use mine to try to get kids to learn to swim.
Wow. Wow. You know, you dropped gem after gem in that, but one of the things that stood out is your dad articulating in just a very small snippet, like, don't let anybody stop you.
Mhm.
And what he was saying was, she sees you, she's flabbergasted that this young black boy is in a space he's not supposed to be in. If it's basketball, if it's football, track, I
Yep.
can get with it. But he ain't supposed to
Right.
be in the pool with us.
Right.
What your dad was saying is, you don't internalize that and don't let anybody stop you. Because
Correct.
if it was up to her, you couldn't swim. But if it's not up to her, it's up to you. But so many of us get buried in buying into the negativity about us, buying into the insufficiency about us, and then articulating that through our life versus owning our own mindset is what your dad was really telling you to do. And he basically was like, you ain't gonna have me here for a long. I'm reading into this, but I'm thinking
Yeah. Yeah.
like a black father would think, especially one whose time is not in his favor. You're not gonna have me here to navigate this with you, but you have to understand that you control in your mindset what is going to be.
100%. And, you know, one of the things that my mom, and I actually got a minor in psychology because I thought I wanted to be a psychologist after my dad passed. My mom was like, "You are not going to NC State and having a full meltdown. I'm in New Jersey. You're at State. No, you're gonna go see somebody." But one of the things that like I can kick myself is, as you said that, as a black father now, as a black father myself, you know, I can only imagine what's going through his head at that time. Not only having a son that swims,
Mhm.
that walks around in speedos. It's the 90s. He doesn't fully understand like what
Yeah.
I'm doing, but he supports me and no matter what I'm doing. And then he's trying to explain to me how to be a man in, like you said, limited time. And so I kick myself to this day that, like, talking about gems, I can still remember some of them.
Mhm.
And I've written down the ones I remember, but I wish I didn't take that time so for granted to not write down some of the stuff that he said. I'm such a big advocate for when you hear something that can be transformative for you, even if it's not in that space,
Mhm.
you should write it down.
Yes.
And so that is something that when I go to seminars or when I'm speaking for myself, sometimes things just click in my head and I'm like, oh, let me write that down. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things that piece of him saying that to me, like you said, it stuck with me for the rest of my life. But I think it set me on the path of forever searching for improvement,
Hmm.
forever, not only for myself, but the people around me as well. So a lot of people are like, what's success? Success is consistency.
Oh yeah.
Success is falling down and then getting back up and figuring out what you did wrong to try to make it right. And so that's what I think when he said that, not only about race, because it was very clear. You feel it, you
Mm.
know what they're saying.
Mhm.
And even at 15, I knew what she was saying.
Mhm.
But when he said that to me, it was like, you be better.
Mhm.
Not only in the water, but as a person, you be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're right. She was cool if I was getting last place. Oh, that black boy is not that good. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Don't let this black boy be good.
Yeah. 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 I think what happens to us, one of the challenges of integration is that it lied to us that when we compete really for space, we compete to control our own narrative. I can bring you in to my house, but you fall under my rules. But if I have my own house, I create the rules. And it's
Right.
whoa, whoa, whoa. Once you start bending the rules, like black people don't swim, I don't know what to do with that. It's, it's funny.
Ooh,
This is sideways. I'm at my daughter's volleyball practice in 2021.
yeah.
Got a Wake Forest sweatshirt on. I graduated from Wake Forest. My wife graduated from
Mhm.
Wake Forest. My wife went to med school there. And she says to me, oh, Wake Forest, that's a really good school. That is a excellent school. What she was really saying was like, how do you know about Wake Forest? And why do you have a Wake Forest sweatshirt?
How'd you get in
How did you get there?
there?
Well, here's what I did. I was so mad at myself, but it was almost default. I then said, well, I played football there. What I was really saying was calm this white lady down and put her in a space that she could wrap her mind around.
I'm an athlete. Yep.
Yes. And I was so mad at myself. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
this like pro-black everything. And I'm over here placating to this white lady's fears and then calming her down a little bit. Oh, no, it's okay. I was an athlete.
Yeah.
It's just changing our mindset, and that's part of what this is. How does technology, and I'm gonna ask you this question with context, right? I'm watching the Nollywood film and they're talking about it's obviously most of Nollywood is set in Lagos, Nigeria. Lagos, Nigeria has 20 million people. Majority of them live on the mainland, come into Lagos Island where the wealth is taking place, working for the rich people. But the people living in Lagos mainland and then living in the outskirts, they all have smartphones. And so 20 years ago, their world was very small. It was
Mhm.
mainland to the island. Now the world is everywhere they want it to be. And now, like a person you probably recognize when I say what Nollywood is, you would have never
Yeah.
known that
Yeah.
when we had dinner,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
how does technology and we can bring in Speedos, for instance, how has technology shortened the gap and been used to leverage people's I guess, greater efficiencies in the spaces that they play?
Wow. I would say I will go a step further and I will call out, if I can, a brand. And I know when we do this, we don't really like to talk about brands specifically, but I have to in this space. I think what changed the game, especially when it comes to sport or how to's or doing anything, at first it was let me consult Dr. Google. But it's not so much that, because a lot of people want to try to do it themselves first.
Yeah.
It's YouTube. People go to YouTube to find out everything, and now TikTok, but like they go for everything. So I know for swimming, swimming in 2000s and 2010 and on, it was you have to go to Colorado, or especially in the 90s, you had to go to Colorado Springs, the Olympic Training Center, to get videotaped.
Okay.
Right? So I was going in there to watch Phelps swim when he was younger, to watch people that were older than me that were at the Olympics pop off, all these names. But like, then I was watching their hand technique. And even then, I'm like drawing pictures. I'm like I'm trying to figure out how they're doing stuff. Now, these kids can look at my race 700 times in like full on, back it up, speed it down, back it up, speed it down, back it up, turn it, flip it, expand it. Now with technology, it's right there.
Yeah.
So what these swimmers are doing, and I'll say in all sport, they're able to see the problems and build and to make sure that those problems don't happen at a much younger age.
Wow.
So you're seeing kids that are 10 throwing up threes like Curry because they learned his style when they were 4. You got people that are sitting here that are learning my style of swimming, and they're breaking records at a much younger age. And you see it really big with the ladies in swimming, because ladies mature quicker. So half of our national team aren't even 21. They're not even in college.
Yeah.
And it's because of technology. Technology has made, everything go faster, smarter, has its downsides, but faster and smarter. And people can really get that information at a much bigger way. It makes the world, as you said, it makes the world bigger.
Absolutely. So where are you today in what is your life mission, and how's it tied to the organizations you work with as it pertains to swimming, and what your philosophy in life?
Yeah. So, when I got the medal in 2008, and USA Swimming Foundation and longest standing sponsor, Phillips 66, came up and was like, the University of Memphis and UNLV did a study, and we're going to put these numbers in front of you. And at that time, 70% of African Americans didn't know how to swim. Black Americans don't know how to swim. 70%.
Wow.
60% of Latin Americans don't know how to swim. 46% of Caucasians don't know how to swim. That one blew my mind, because I was like sitting there like, wait, when I look at Summer League, when I look at all of these other things, you look at suburban areas, especially if they have a pool, the first thing parents do is throw their kids in a pool.
Yes.
You tell me 46% of Caucasians don't know how to swim. That's not just one race, that's a US problem.
Yes.
And as someone who nearly drowned, I'm like, this is my way of giving back to the sport. This is my piece. This is going to be my brand. So what I started to do is I worked with USA Swimming Phillips 66 to help create the Make a Splash initiative. We are celebrating 13 years now. We've reached over 10 million people, kids. We work with kids directly. And we've learned that like when you have a parent in the house, if one parent knows how to swim, there's an 88% chance that child will learn how to swim. 88. Adversely, if neither parent knows how to swim, there's a 13% chance that child will learn how to swim. 13%. If you live under the $50,000 household income, under $50,000, there is a 79% chance that family will not learn how to swim.
Wow.
So these numbers are staggering. And I'm sitting here like, this is my way of being able to say, let me use my platform to kind of do something to help others.
Mhm.
Right. So when I went and started working with them, I said, this is my mission. This is what I'm going to stand for. This is my push. Then I had my son.
Mhm.
And that changed the game. That changed everything. Because for me at that point, it was like, hold up. Now, what I need to do is I need to not swim and live and grow for myself or everyone else. I got to do this for him. And so now I need to figure out, how do I get him to the next step? Okay. How do I get him to that next level? How do I build this sport around for him so that he can feel or not feel what I had to feel?
Mhm.
So what I started doing was I started working with USA Swimming outside of just doing that. We started working with trying to work with HBCUs and build HBCUs. We started trying to do all of these other pieces and build out ways that we can influence not only all cultures, but our culture. Because you
Mhm.
brought up, boy, you hit a note when you started talking about the past and integration.
Yeah.
Because the thing about that is it goes so far back for Black Americans. Because when you see pictures, when I got that medal in 2008, a mentor of mine, Bruce Wygo, who leads over at the International Hall of Fame, he actually showed me pictures of like literal old school books. You had to like dust it off. And here are Africans swimming in America. So what you're telling me is that when we got here, we knew how to swim.
Yep.
But what we would rather do is swim to death than to be picking your cotton.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. What we're gonna do is we're gonna break it. And what we're gonna tell you is water is bad.
Oh,
So you're gonna shower in buckets.
yeah.
You're gonna shower in this area with everything's dirty. You're gonna do all these things because we want you to understand that water is not for you.
Mm.
So I just learned this one the other day. And in the 1910s, white folks were drowning so much that they said, we have to change this. We are going to go from the government level, and we are going to make sure that every school has a pool because we know that white folks are drowning too much. So every pool had a school. Then in the 1960s, 1970s, 1980s, when integration came, no, when these Black folks touch water, it's dirty now. So there's an iconic picture of the hotel manager in Florida pouring acid in the pool when Black folks are in the pool. It also started right before and was a catalyst. That incident was a catalyst for the civil rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
People don't recognize that swimming and water is a trigger for the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
So now you look about, let's say the 1980s, what did they do? They said, oh, okay, here we go. White folks are drowning, but now we got a little bit of a hand on it. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make the pools private. Oh, you know what we only gonna do? We're only gonna have those pools at the private areas. We're gonna have them at country clubs, and we're gonna make this thing we call swimming elite.
Mm-hmm.
So much that we have an announcer on a baseball game that say, well, we know Black people don't swim because of their bone density.
Yes. Yes.
Bruh,
Yes.
let me tell you something. I got 4 medals. 4.
Mm-hmm.
I can't float.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with swimming. Is it nice if you're on the ocean, just lay back, and is it a survival technique? Absolutely. But that's salt water. What does that have to do with being near a pool?
Mm-hmm.
That has nothing to do with it. We have to start re-educating because what we have been told from 400 plus years ago to as far back as the 80s, that ain't that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, when George Floyd happened, there was a hotel down in Georgia where they kicked Black folks out of the pool, just kicked them out of the pool. We don't want you here.
Mm-hmm.
That was in the teens. That happened in like 2018 and 2019.
Wow.
We still dealing with this now.
Mhm.
And then when George Floyd happened, I walked outside my house, and it was actually my brother-in-law's house, and I had my French bulldog. Those are a little expensive, a little pricey.
Yeah.
I had my car, my brother-in-law's car. We had all these cars in there. I walk outside of his neighborhood, which is a very nice neighborhood. There's a cop car that comes by, screeches on it, goes whoop, comes around in front of me, and
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
It's 10 o'clock at night. I work for Speedo.
Mhm.
They're in LA, so I work on different hours.
Yeah.
So now it's 10 o'clock. I'm just getting off work.
Mhm.
And I come downstairs and I'm walking my dog. Hey, is everything okay? This is 24 hours after I have watched a man be lynched
Yes.
for 24 hours because
Yeah.
all they were doing was playing it on replay.
Yeah.
And now I have this police officer in my face. And I'm like, is everything okay? Yes, officer. He goes, oh, that puppy right there, that puppy. And I was like, nope, he's a French bulldog. He's actually 9. And he's like, well, my family has a poodle. I was like, oh, those can be big. Those can be pretty. He's like, and then we got a Yorkie. He's like, oh yeah, yo, those are small. Thank God of my extensive knowledge of dogs. But then he's like, oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you checking on my well-being.
Drives off, right? But here's the thing. What was out of place? My 6'5" frame with that nice house, that expensive dog, and these cars.
Yes.
That, and I don't fit his narrative of being okay. And
Mhm.
then it hit me. My wife is Indian. I am Black. My son is half Black, half Indian.
Mhm.
I have to teach my son how to verbally disarm a person with a gun.
Mhm.
And it changed my mindset from, yes, I want to help people learn to swim, which is great, but I need to do something that I know I can be an influence for.
Mhm.
And that's trying to work with USA Swimming and through Speedo and all through my connections of people that I know to change the sport that I know my son's probably going to be a part of,
Yeah. Yeah.
to make him feel welcome and to at least know where he can have support, because he's still in the 2020, 2022, he's still going to have to deal with the
Yes.
stuff
Yes.
that we did.
Yes. Woo! You preached it out for us. I got to get ready. My thing with our kids is, how do you still embody all of the dignity that is endowed by God in spite of these attacks that are going to come your way? How do you not let them diminish you and you still stand tall with your chest out, walk in the room like it's yours, as you should?
Mm-hmm. It's
And
support.
yeah,
It's support, man. It's support. It's support when, like, I just came back and I actually just pledged alumni for Kappa Alpha Psi. So I am now part of Greek life, and I just got back from the Celebration Bowl, and I can tell you that being around other people that understand the fight recharges my battery.
okay.
So for me, and that's actually funny because that's how I met Chewy. I was the only Black dude on the swim team, and I remember him and Salter. We were always in Avon Ferry together, and I walked up to them and said, "Hey, can I hang out with y'all? I need to be with Black friends." And and they laughed in my face, and we have been friends since. But it was real because I needed that support. I needed to be around people that identify, because when you go out there, like you said, you try to puff your chest up, you know people are taking chinks out of your armor every day,
Yes.
all day.
Yes.
You got to fill that cup again.
Yeah.
And so being around people that understand, that can speak to you, that's the best thing we can do. And then continue to have the God-given grace that we always try to have.
Absolutely. Whew. Well, Cullen, man, we're so excited to have you, Olympic gold medalist, but way more than that. And that's enough in its own right. You know, that's for the clout chasers, that does all the work. But then you always, what I find in people that operate in excellence is that it's way more than the title. There's a character that exists that takes you there, because as you know, in any field, there's a lot of really talented people, but their deficient character could not carry them over the line. So, man, I'm blessed to have you. Thank you, my brother Chewy, for giving giving us the. And I'm not gonna say no. People need to get paid what they're owed, what they deserve. And I appreciate you. We acknowledge that and also know where we are. So I appreciate you,
man, please,
giving us that accommodation, and we're so excited to have you. And
I'm excited to do it. Absolutely.
So we're gonna get, you covered. The good thing is I had a list of questions. I think I asked you 2 questions because you covered everything else. We're really gonna dig into how, we talked about YouTube University, but how tech has just enhanced so many efficiency. These kids, you talked about these kids breaking records at very young ages as a result of that. I'm going to dig into that more. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that people are out for Field of the Boardroom 2, the Black Tech Series. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina, JW Marriott, February 17th to the 19th. This is President's Day weekend, so everybody's going to have a long weekend, some time to recover. We're going to have a slew of people, to include Cullen Jones as one of our guest speakers for a panel discussion. What we're really trying to do, Cullen, is make sure the next generation, these are college graduates in the 13 plus HBCUs in North Carolina and beyond, they have access to government stakeholders. NASA's going to be in the room, and NASA has so many projects that the general public doesn't know about and takes advantage of. Then you have your true corporate America is going to be represented, whether that's organizations like Google or Speedos or Microsoft that will have representatives there. But we also just have day-to-day entrepreneurs that can partner on the outside. We want to bring that circle together. We want to have it, like I said, where we are in control of that network. So we dictate to the needs that we believe affect our community at the highest level. So we believe when you come correct, they can't stop you. And that's what we're doing to proliferate. So Cullen, we thank you for your time. We thank you for the opportunity in advance for you being in the house.
Can't wait.